Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. This is Mohammed Shilon coming to you now from the state of North Carolina. This is VOS television being produced from Canada. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Victor Mengot in Surrey, England. So welcome back. Today is April 5th, 2026. So happy Easter, happy Good Friday, Good Sunday, and everything. So I wish you the best of Easter, and I hope the peace and blessings of the Almighty God is cast upon all of us. All right. So now, today, April 5th, 2026, my co-host Naeem go get for do the announcement of the topics that we'll get for cover today. And under a certain broad heading, we'll get on our screen pretty soon. But I want to remind we listeners them for say, we are coming through the VOS television broadcasting platforms or service with platforms or multitude of platforms. And we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on X, we're going to be formerly Twitter, or we're not formerly Twitter. We'll get a VOS radio website also. So with YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, you go on VOS television, .com, you will get we. Okay, then we'll get a radio station where if you want to go on that station, we'll get what you call the VOSradio.com or www.vosradio.com. You should be able to access we, but to be able to access we, you get to be able to come up with the app. So you get to go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for be able to download the VOS app, for be able to go na the if you want to listen we over the radio. So if you get to be able to download, you go into the Play Store, download the Apple app, or the Google, go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store and download the app, the VOS app, to be able to get to 91.9 FM, the VOS radio station at 91.9 FM. Be mindful if you just go on 91.9 FM and you're there in North America, there is a high likelihood you will get to a station where not to the station and you're sick. So I strongly encourage you now for going to the Apple Play Store or the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store and download the VOS app. We're also being carried on and Twitch TV. So just simply get VOS TV or VOS television, and you should be able to access it. Then we'll get what you call the non-profit organization of VOS, which is the VOS Diaspora Scholarship Program. So that you go on vosdiaspora.org, vosdiaspora.org. If you go there, you will see where they try to raise funds for allow or support or assist the people in young people who want to complete school, who want to complete their education, but they don't get the means, financial means for be able to do so. So this is just some fundraising for help them. And if you care to help, feel free for do so. Call the VOS television broadcasting or main numbers them. Then we could be able to give you any information we want. Now, we also get what you call, when I know say this program is always what we can call, it's a live show, so it enables people them all around the world where they listen to we for call in and ask questions. And when you call in, when you ask questions, we will be able to give you an answer almost instantly. So we get a universal telephone number where we request that everybody call where you get a question for ask, or you get a comment for make, not necessarily asking a question. And that number will be +1 343 997 5828. +1 343 997 5828. Okay, so please call us as soon as Mr. Mengo do the introduction, and as soon as the program actually begins as such. If you get any question in the middle of the broadcasting, please call in or send in a written comment. But we will do the best we can for answer when we try for reach we at that number day. So welcome back for tuning in. As we always normally will say, we greatly appreciate your participation, involvement, your interest in which we get for say. And to just remind listeners, we don't get any political platform now in terms of promoting any particular political group. We strongly encourage everybody on all sides to even suggest or ask or make a request to appear on we shows them. Of course, we get a right for accept or extend an invitation or deny, an application as such. But we strongly encourage you now, we want to make sure say, we no say, and we welcome all points of views, because we want to make sure say, not a one-sided view where they try for projects, because that's not we goal. We goal is for be able for exchange ideas from which hopefully the best will come out. So in that case, I turn now over to my co-host, Mr. Victor Mengot. We go tell you now which are the things then we will cover today. But of course, the broad topic for the day is Parliament, justice, and local governance under the spotlight in Sierra Leone. Then when we talk of justice, there are certain 2-3 things that I may point out in the process. Because you can't talk about justice, talk about injustice, And so, but when we get there, we will talk about that. So to you, Mr. Mengot.
Well, Fambulem, in a good afternoon, good evening, or good morning if you're on the other side of the world. Today we don't come back, and normally this program, we deal with trending issues on social media. And we notice with Parliament being very busy. Busy in the sense that they've been there on recess, and the time they've been there on recess, they say that because at that time, the opposition party been say, then they boycott Parliament. Because this is not the first thing they don't do it. And the reason why they say then they boycott Parliament, now because they say the government not they act in good faith in terms of the parliamentary processes them, and also things for do with the agreement for national unity. And that agreement for national unity in particular, we get the tripartite reports, where it deals with a lot of things there for do with the election management, but also some other issues them where relate to constitutional change. So them as the opposition party then decide for boycott Parliament. They also say let them local government councillors them, chairpersons and mayors then themselves they cease for participating in governance. So well, this government on the other hand, they say they can continue. The government say the party not go hold them to ransom. So Parliament resume, and when Parliament resume, we see certain things the way Parliament do without the opposition, and as some of them things that I want to talk about. Number one, there was a private members bill. We move a motion on the activities of the National Electoral Watch. We want to discuss that. Then there was also another bill, when a government bill, with a repeal of the National Security and Central Intelligence Bill Act 2023. Then also in the same parliament, they also talk about issues then for deal with things they're waiting at the other paper. Because they get so many waiting at the other paper. Now the business system waiting they do. Some of them laws they waiting get for ratify. Some of them treaties they waiting get for agree on. So the first part on the parliament side, and then they get a lot of implication we'll go out for explain. Then we'll go and talk about local government. Also, it relates to this boycott where the opposition party then boycott parliament and also local government. Because we see at one time, then be na Freetown, we've been getting and call acting mayor, but then they not been go down well, and people then query that move their way the SLPP party chairman be make, and even the Minister of Local Government self been say he was not part of it. But then we see so also, then come back say, well, then go continue without the APC being in power. And we get the Minister of Finance will be issue a letter through to the Ministry of Local Government for say, well, let them get what they call exercise emergency power. One look into that there and see how then they fall into the whole situation. Then of course justice, we want to talk about dispensation of justice, especially things for do with the granting of bail. Then you get the act we deal with that, when act where they deal with criminal procedure act in 2023. So these are the issues that we'll get for discuss before we start. Let's see if my colleague get anything, then I can start with the first topic. When this private members bill.
Yeah, you may start. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, the first thing where Parliament do, because now we're to get a Parliament, we get the SLPP members them. And now look at composition of Parliament. SLPP get 81 members, APC get 54, then the Paramount Chief na 14, then 149. So out of the APC 54, we see say one man he still continue with Mohamed Bangura. We join the SLPP for letting continue the debate. But what's interesting, we get an organization called NEW, National Elections Watch. Other than a NEW is a consortium of national and international non-governmental organizations. Their main work now for look at governance, but for the past 3 or 4 elections, they have been one of the election observers then. In fact, I would say they do a good job, because they are the only national observer they will get. Because the other election observer they will get now, like from the Carter Center, which is from America. You get the Institute for Democratic Elections Alliance, IDEA. You get the EU Working Cent Observer Mission. You get the Africa Union Self-Working Cent, and you get the ECOWAS. So NEW we now come out with a lot of criticisms from both sides. but more particularly with the government or the SLPP party in particular. Say new during the last time the reports where them in pool not be all water. So we get a private members bill where 2 MPs them from the SLPP move a motion. But the interesting thing where Farm will get for no, this discussion about new, because when they talk about new, then they talk about, say, for examining how then they go about organizing the activities them, who then are the members them, who then get money, how then they get their money, and whether they work with and they do, not they affect the democratic space now we country. But only Farm will take note of this. This issue was raised by the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Tara Conte, and he was right to raise it because he raised it under parliamentary privilege. Because according to the rules of Parliament, you cannot hold an MP or member of Parliament of which Honorable Tara Conte is a member of Parliament. You know, Olam is free for using parliamentary privilege for comment on any other matters, although that privilege can be restricted if nothing to do with state security or a case within a court where it could be a contempt of court. So he raised this issue about new on the 5th of March. Then we get another SLPP MP when Honorable Gevao himself raised the issue. But what is interesting, when Parliament resumed last week, or probably I think yes, the first thing when they do, one of the things, they put under the order paper, waiting at the order paper. The order paper, now like the agenda of waiting and they do in Parliament. And how then they get that order paper? The Parliament gets several committees. So they get a House Business Committee. The House Business Committee is headed by the Speaker of Parliament. And you get members from other opposition and also the paramount chiefs. So now then they determine waiting at the parliamentary agenda. So this been kind of the order paper on the 31st of March. 30th of March, sorry. 31st of March, let me be precise. It was on the 31st of March. So the speaker will say, under parliamentary rules, he cannot stop any private member for bring a private member's bill in Parliament, which is fine. But that technically, when a private member they bring a bill in Parliament or a motion for a debate in Parliament, it therefore go to the clerk. We will now inform the speaker. But interesting enough, when that motion did in at the order paper on the 31st, then said that they act on a letter of complaint we then get on the 30th. So now one day, and who that make this complaint? Now a group we call themselves National Consortium for Public Accountability. They say they're concerned with new, because new, they work with and they do, and they undermine democracy because they're not transparent, and then we now announce it and they represent all NGOs and then they be selective in other than they involve. So last stop there, last if my colleague get anything for say about this, then I will go into the rules and procedures of Parliament and see who say some of the things and they were questionable. Over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mengot. this private member bill has become an issue. The interest that I have had over, and I think you're the best person for explaining to we, is the process, the procedure, whether there are procedural irregularity. For example, there is an instance, and correct me if I'm wrong, in which the Attorney General, not the Attorney General, the Chief Minister, I think, introduced a bill or a private member bill. Am I correct? The Chief Minister?
No, that was that is a government bill. We'll go into that. That is a private member's bill. It was a government bill.
Okay. So the private member.
Daniel, the next issue we'll get for talk about.
Okay. So.
And let me make a correction. Wait, not a bill, then private. This is a private member motion. What's the difference between a motion and a bill? A bill is a precursor to either making a new law in Parliament or amending an existing law. So that's not a bill. But we'll get a situation where in Sierra Leone, they see when they want to amend a bill, then they call an act. We don't make several corrections here. You can only call a document an act when it has received presidential assent. When a private member notify the clerk of the house he want to raise a motion is now for let Parliament get the chance, let raise an issue of public interest where either it's be national, local, or something where pertinent to in constituencies. That's the difference.
Okay, so a motion, as far as I understand it, because we use that also in the, well, I don't know, but back home, we're here, I don't know what the word doing in the use in Sierra Leone, but in the United States, a motion is very commonly used in the legal lexicon, as a legal lexicon, or it is commonly used also in the process of almost any court proceedings. A motion any court proceeding will involve a motion. Now, so from the lawyer standpoint, what I think is the same thing as Parliament. A motion is just an act by the movant or whoever they request the motion. It asks permission. It's an attempt or permission seeking to be able to either state something, say something, or and ask permission from either the courts or in Parliament. You could get from the Speaker to allow you to express something which always almost require a response. Now again, I think Mr. Mengodo clarified for which is the difference between bill and an act. Where a bill is just the process where the attempt. A bill is a proposal by anyone with the intention of it becoming a law that you can present through a motion and then move forward. At some point, that proposal is called a bill, and then when it reaches the same bill, when it reaches a certain stage, it can become an act. And then that act after presidential assent, we mean where the president does sign them, Parliament does debate that bill, they don't go through the process of becoming a law. When the president signs, and then it becomes an act. That act now is being put into another stage, which is normally referred to as statutory law. Okay, so, but there's always this confusion which Mr. Mengodo has been trying to clarify for I guess for the parliamentarians, because then they sit and then they try for that Mr. Mengodo has been saying there's a difference between, and correctly so, there's a difference between a bill and an act. An act is actually something that would become a law, whereas a bill is just a proposal of an idea. that whoever is proposing that bill there is asking Parliament for make that idea they become law, but then continue for use the word interchangeably or synonymously, which is just quite wrong, and we'll try to correct that. We need to get and corrected. But going back to the point I will try to make, there was an issue, Mr. Mengot, about but you said that's a government member bill, so that's different from private member bill. So with respect to the private member bill, I don't have any issue on that at the moment.
Okay, let me continue now. Because this was a private member motion. What is a private member motion? How you do them? The private member, that's any member of parliament, regardless of in political affiliation, can notify the speaker through the clerk of parliament, say there's an issue where you want to raise and discuss. That go on at the House Business Committee, then at the committee where they determine waiting for discussion at parliament. Then they go put on at the order paper. Waiting at the order paper, now the paper, now a document where they show the agenda for debate on the day. So what's peculiar about this one? This motion was put to parliament, right, pursuant to certain sections of the Constitution. And that section where they talk about 93.4. Section 93.4 of the Constitution says Parliament may at any time appoint any other committee to investigate any matter of public interest. But here is where the anomaly lies. We have a public interest committee in Parliament. So in my view, in the other paper where the mover of the motion, they ask for Parliament to appoint a committee for look into something where a claim is in the public interest, in order for ask for a special committee. That is directly within the purview of the public petition committee. Because a public petition where you can put through a motion because it's an issue of national interest. Waiting at the issue, it said therefore examine the democratic credentials of new. What do I mean by that? It means therefore check for say all the people that we make new, because new a consortium, National Elections Watch, these people, they all are being given fair opportunity for take part in new the activity when one of the major activity now for do elections watch. And I don't know why they for bring on this term, because we not get elections now. Secondly, it talk about operational standards. Then it talk about accountability and transparency and financial prudence. But here we go. Parliament, if you look at the Constitution, it talk about this committee. In as much as under Section 93.4 of the Constitution, it gives Parliament, through the Speaker, the right for set up a committee, but you no need for set up any committee when there's an existing committee where they deal with public petition, of which the Speaker is also the chairman of that committee. So procedurally, that motion there was filed wrongly. And the law of parliamentary procedure say they could amend them. So I feel to say that should have been pointed out to the petitioners that yes, there's already a committee in Parliament where they deal with public petition, because waiting they talk now public petition. Now, then they under the parliamentary standing order, and I will read in English. Then I will explain them. The standing order 70, subsection 5, it said there shall be a committee known as the Public Petition Committee to consist of the Speaker as chairman and 5 members to be nominated by the Committee of Selections. The Committee of Selection, and they choose who they represent Parliament in a different committee, and also then the way they go overseas, as soon as maybe after the beginning of each session. So we don't already get a Public Petition Committee. And that committee, then they always set are not later than 21 days after Parliament starts. So if there's a Public Petition Committee, that is where Mr. Speaker before direct these members them for make them complaint. But then under that same standing order there, it clearly say where the complainants and representation of the petition fall within the purview of the ombudsman. Who then are the ombudsman? The ombudsman are a body where Parliament give responsibility for looking to maladministration in governance or any other statutory institution. Then he said, if you get other means for address this issue when they raise, then it should not be brought to Parliament. So the Speaker not before even entertain that motion there. Because the petitioner wants, if not information he wants from the new, we get a commission where they call Right to Access Information Commission. And new being a public body, the petitioners them, the one that will go give the parliamentary, they should have go to that and say, let them ask new, for let new provide them with the evidence where they want. For see them accountability, transparency, the mode of operation. And the commission go now write to new for provider within 14 days. So, in my view, last Saturday first, this is where the error was. The motion should not have been accepted. One, because the people that way they seek the information get other institutions that way them for seek that particular information and redress. Also, new is a member of what they call SLANGO, Sierra Leone Association of NGOs, where they monitor the activity. Now, unless they exhaust them particular institution, they forget the information before they go Parliament. So people then take and say this is a political mischief. Because first, it was raised by the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, then expounded by another member of Parliament, then they hurriedly can go, put under the other paper, say the complaint come from an independent source a day before the motion was put in Parliament. So let's stop there, then I will go and say how it was dealt with, which is also, again, is parliamentary and procedurally questionable. Over to you, sir.
Okay, now I understand what you to say for me in instances, and I think, so as some of them we talk so now, I think we focus mostly back home now at the top board. We seem for the focus mostly on or the ignore we administrative law, which also simultaneously then for the develop as other laws are being developed. But what I mean by administrative law, because if the administrative law is a whole different process and procedure, way for help for share the workload of legal issues where they arise almost on a daily basis within the context of governance. So it seems like what you talk, instead of these people going back to Parliament and raising issues for which there are already provisions for remedies but the procedure, it seems like not quite clear as to how do you, what number one, which forum? Forum meaning where to go to get relief for the issue you raised. That's what it sounds like to me. It is not clear. So some people seem as if they are skipping the process and going to Parliament for acts for relief, which may have already been provided by other means. For example, you just always say, I think Ago used the phrase, before them going to Parliament, they ask for voting and they ask for what we call in law relief. Then for the exhaust, what you would call administrative remedies. If I'm wrong, correct me. But am I right?
You're perfectly right. Yeah, perfectly right.
And there are available administrative remedies which they have not pursued. So that motion, they procedurally, as you say, which is what blows me away because I cannot understand how this is happening so often. So when that motion, that private member bill there was presented as a motion, according to you, the speaker, if the speaker himself I don't expect the speaker to know all the rules by head. If we forget staff, adequate staffing for be able for help out with the answer. So when then go to the speaker, which I agree, you say the speaker should not have entertained the motion because one, it seems like the motion was premature because there are other institutions, administrative remedies that they should have pursued. But so the speaker procedurally was in error in fact entertaining the motion and then making a postponement or what we call in law a continuance of the motion that was being presented. So again, it seems like we are not developing administrative law, and we're not developing procedural law, both in many ways, but particularly in criminal law, because we see the same thing happen way back when Lara Pierce was terminated. There were this big vacuum of the absence of procedure as to how to prosecute her and how for defend her. And they were just making the rules as they went along. So again, I have always said, sometimes in this lawmaking process, the courts can play a role. Instead of going to Parliament in this instance, you exhaust the administrative remedies, and then you go to the courts if you not get satisfaction. So the other thing I don't understand, I do not see, again, there is a thing we will call subject matter jurisdiction. So this accusation or a desire for the new people them for come up with their qualifications or fulfillment of the requirement, I don't even think Parliament get what you would call subject matter jurisdiction because there is already an entity where for handle that. I know, and then I don't understand why then qualification matters so much. I thought new itself should set their own rule to become a body that, because they don't seem, unless again Mr. Mengot can expound on that or expand them, why does new have to disclose idea and then qualification of the membership? What has Parliament got to do with that? When a private organization, they're not being paid by government or they're not a governmental body. So I'm just interested in that, Mr. Mengot. So why the issue at all being raised? Where new, it seems like now a private entity financed and subsidized by private organizations or foreign organizations. Am I wrong or right? So why should they be accountable to Parliament or of anything, whether or not they are not being financed by the government.
The other issue I go raise before I go to the next step, waiting and knew the main function. Knew the main function, as we know now, election monitoring, right?
Yeah.
And for do that, then get accreditation from the ECSL, the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone. So even these petitioners, they should have gone to ECSL, because when they apply for accreditation, you have to submit relevant document as to your membership, issues to do with your source of finance, your modus operandi, and everything. So why didn't they go to the ECSL? This is another, it come back to that standing order where I say, this is another body, we could have answered their query. So now makes a lot of people infiltrated in a political mischief. Especially, the issue was brought when the other party don't boycott parliament. Then, the day when they say they present this letter to the night, a day before the motion. But prior to that, some members of parliament be no raise them. But I'll go further. So when the motion was put to parliament, normally when you put a motion to parliament, and the petitioner, that is the MP, where they act on behalf of the people that will petition, read why he want parliament for consider that motion day. The speaker will now put it to the house if there is any seconder. And then the motion was seconded, so it was carried. Which means when a motion is seconded and is carried, it has to be debated or sent to the relevant committee, which I sent earlier on. There was no need for a new committee. It could be sent to the Public Petition Committee. But hey, guess what Mr. Speaker do? One of the MP them, in the form of Mohamed Bangura, raised objection. Say, well, this issue is a very delicate issue, because why at the same time, you also they look at the elections of members them, because they get members the way they join them. And if the speaker don't put into a motion, the motion is carried, then there should be a debate after the motion is carried, which would lead to that motion, the substance of the motion, being taken to committee. But then the speaker suspend the motion. I want to come into that. Motion that has been presented to Parliament, seconded, and put to the vote. The speaker suspend the motion, and when he suspend them, take the motion up, he suspend them, and waiting a reason. He said because of sensitivity, waiting at sensitivity, and the need for proper judgment. If he say, okay, in suspend that motion until so date where they will consider, so he left them very open. So these are, I think that's a gross error in procedural things in Parliament. Because number one, you suspend the motion, you say it's sensitive, then you say there is need for proper judgment. Proper judgment by who? Because the members, they don't move the motion and it's been carried. So who is going to be the judge? Over to you, sir. How you think, say, than the apple now?
Well, it's getting, see, it looked like there has to be some serious reconsideration of the procedural system in Parliament. Because on the one hand, what I'm understanding you to say, the Speaker entertained the motion. The motion was seconded, and the sooner maybe entertain the motion, start the process of how a motion should be presented and proceed. Then no sooner did he realize maybe that the motion may be politically sensitive, then he arbitrarily suspend a process that had already begun. Then he suspend the process, and the reason why he is so, it not make any sense, and it's so vague, in the sense that it concerns it's a sensitive issue. What is a sensitive issue? So again, the difficulty is, how do you proceed? Because it sounds almost like a kangaroo court. The speaker, they make a rule as he goes along, and when the speaker not follow the rules, it looks like there is no remedy. They just let him proceed as he wants to, which I don't think that's how Parliament should proceed, because Parliament in itself should have structure, should have checks and balances, should have a way the speaker should be made to reverse himself or herself if the speaker is wrong procedurally. So to me, the whole thing is just, I'm just a little bit baffled as to how the Parliament is being run, with no disrespect to the Parliament, but just for efficiency's sake. It will seem to me like the speaker should get sufficient staffing. Then when issues are then kind of raised, it should be able to adequately, satisfactorily deal with the matter. But you don't accept a motion, have the motion seconded, start the process of getting the motion to become a bill and then an act. Then for some reason in the process of it, you just arbitrarily say, well, you postpone them indefinitely, without even saying indefinitely or without setting a specific date. So I am lost. Mr. Mengo, you are the expert here, but I don't know how you feel about it. But parliamentary-wise, it looks like we say, that system, day two, is not being developed. The procedure in Parliament, the little we'll get before, it looks like with that process is being eroded. Instead of improving, that too is being eroded. So I don't know what you may think or you think about what is going on, but so far some of the rulings here by the speaker doesn't seem like we're really developing the system. We are eroding the very little we'll get left. And it looks like the speaker thinks he has absolute right to rule as he pleases. And then parliamentarians do not have any right to overrule in ruling. Again, you are a better judge on that than I am. So what I don't know what you think. What say you?
Well, the speaker could make a ruling, right?
Yes.
But in making a ruling, there should be clarity. It should be on grounds of law and procedure. But then you don't make a ruling and say, because of the sensitivity of the subject matter. If you had realized that subject matter was sensitive, you could not have entertained it in the first place.
Precisely.
Right? Secondly, you don't give a time where you go make your judgment. You say need for proper judgment. So you left her indefinite. You before say, okay, I'll suspend ruling, because when you suspend ruling, it's just like a court. If you suspend sentence, you must determine time where that person they will come back for reconsider the sentence, isn't it?
Correct.
Similarly, in Parliament, if you suspend ruling, you must indicate when you go revisit the whole issue. And also, if you explain what you mean by sensitivity. So I think, in my view, the way the motion was handled, procedure, then later on, the person when I've been a petitioner was on media explaining why it taken to Parliament. Then the two members of Parliament, the one who moved the motion and the other one who second them, they invite themselves or can't give them views. But then they put out an official letter, say they cannot comment on it because of the rule where speaker make, which I find very strange. If you are a mover of a motion and you get a seconder, and the thing is on public interest, why refuse for let the public know why you take that step? Anyway.
Well, this is just very briefly. This is what I'm saying. The whole thing looks so strange, but it's not helping the situation because the speaker, in fact, that ruling the way Guy could have easily avoided to commit Parliament to it by saying the motion was premature, that he will not entertain the motion because there are other, like I said earlier, adequate remedies where and then for exhaust their remedies by going to the various governmental agencies that had to deal with the issues, and only until they exhaust all them their area there before them for even think of coming to Parliament. And then the second aspect to that judgment there by the speaker is that Parliament also may not even be the proper place to go back to. And if the bill is going to be, it could just come back in the form of a new bill. But what you may not understand here, then normally when you use the word because of sensitivity or sensitive issue in national governance discussion, it usually has to do with matters of national security. We use the word sensitivity. Otherwise, anything less than that, the word sensitivity will not be appropriate. Because, for example, you cannot say because of sensitivity. Why? Because the president could be embarrassed. Sensitivity because that it only has to do with national security, which I was not even made clear as to whether that sensitivity that the speaker was talking about was what it was all about. But the bill, it looked like to me, the speaker, the process adopted by the speaker was just wrong. He should have said the motion was premature. He will not entertain the motion at that time. They may bring it later on, but before they bring it on, then for the exhaust, meaning go through all other administrative remedies, where allow them for come up with an issue there, and Parliament for be the place of last resort, So again, like I say, I don't see the efforts by we court. I don't see the effort by we Parliament for try for improve the legal system in whole by even coming up with some constructive administrative decisions and make things easy and simple and efficient. So it just blows me away because I don't see how we are helping to build institutions in this way, because everything seems to have political overtone. That's what really gets me. So I just wanted some clarity. That's why I was asking you, because this speaker entertaining a motion is seconded. Then when the speaker realizes what the nature of the motion is, backtracks and suspend proceedings, so to speak, indefinitely. And then he's not required to give a reason, but he gives a reason, and the reason will not make any sense. In fact, one, it don't make any sense in the sense that the reason is not clear. He says sensitivity about what? Of what nature? So that said, now that's all my comments about that, because it's disappointing that Parliament is not really, the parliamentarians are not doing their homework, and the speaker is not letting them do what they're supposed to do.
Okay, so let's come to the next one, where this next one, now this new bill, we then call an act. This is a bill which is call them the National Security and Central Intelligence Act 2025. If you do a reference, there is nothing like that. The one we'll get the National Security and Central Intelligence Act 2023. Without a repeal of the act, we form the establishment of the Office of National Security, ONS. With the Office of National Security today, if we put it in we own parlance, in England, you go say a combination of MI5 and MI6, because MI5 they deal with internal security, MI5 means military intelligence, MI6 they do with external security. In the American sense, they're like a combination of FBI and CIA. Now, look at the interesting thing. We have this national, I will make reference. So it's National Security and Intelligence. So this one was taken to Parliament by no other than the Chief Minister. Now take this bill go Parliament. And this is a government bill.
What's the bill about?
Okay. The bill is to repeal the National Intelligence. Are we having any phone call? Are we having any phone call?
No, sir. No.
Yeah, because so this, they say, what is it about? One thing we're very interesting in this bill, they say they want to create a special force. We will look after the president, the vice president, the speaker of parliament, and some MP, not MP, and some VIP. So in other words, what did they say? You forget a force we go look at them people, look after the security of them people here in perpetuity, even whilst in office and after the no left office. So people then they ask, say, even the MP then say, well, waiting. Who don't know the definition of VIP? And why do we need a special force to look after them people here? Because we get the police, even the president, you get the presidential security. So why create a new force? So the bill went to Parliament, presented by the Chief Minister. They had a first reading, then a second reading. The Chief Minister, again, which is one thing which is odd in our Parliament, the Chief Minister is not an MP, but when they make such an understanding order, say when the Chief Minister or a minister takes a bill to Parliament, it can also move a motion. And that motion, the way it moved, now for move from the first reading to the second reading. So if he's not a member of Parliament and he not get a vote, why is he allowed to move a motion? So over to you, sir. If you want to go, I'll go look and search waiting at the existing act where they want to change.
Okay.
Because we get a National Security and Central Intelligence Act 2023. We not get a National Security and Central Intelligence Act 2025. So now so they present in a Parliament, National Security and Central Intelligence Act 2025, which is a bill to repeal the existing act in 2023. I don't know what your comment on that.
Well, again, just as you always point out, these guys don't seem to care, because I don't want to believe they just don't know. They don't seem to care about being correct or being right. They're just using power because they get the power. Because why do they keep referring to National Intelligence Act of 2025 when there is no such act? And then the bill when they present the parliament, now for modify the National Intelligence Act of 2023. So either they call them right, or they leave it alone. Because in the National Intelligence Act of 2025, there is no such act. Now, 2023 Act, they wouldn't try probably, and they'll see something they wouldn't want to modify or change. So I don't understand what that is of such urgency. And then that bill, every time a bill is about to be proposed, one has to ask, what is the necessity or the need for such a bill? So this particular bill will provide extra or extraordinary protection for the president, because the president, look, at the moment or at present, has the topmost protection that anyone has in the country as far as security is concerned. So they're trying to hop it up by saying they need a special force. And as vaguely as they use the word separate or special force, that take some degree of training, some degree of staffing, some degree of supervision, and some amount of money. So, number one, I think they owe the country and the nation as to why this bill, why is the National Intelligence Act of 2023 need to be amended or modified? They owe it to the nation for trying to explain. And that also, it seems like when they come up with something, it looks like the way Parliament runs, no opportunity to debate it. We don't see, because when we talk about transparency, it should be put into votes, and then we see almost members of the opposition object, or almost members of the ruling party agree. If any objection, that also should be stated. When now someone thinks about a law that needs to be changed, they kind of parliament, then they decide to change the law. One example where the give, without a doubt, the dissolution of the jury system in Sierra Leone is a regrettable thing, because it serves no useful purpose. It's clear to me the intention behind such a law for replace the jury system with the system where they currently gets, without having to run a pilot program for see if the replacement of the jury system would be the best thing in this 21st century for Sierra Leone. You just get a handful of people who, for whatever reason, decided jury system is not relevant, is not efficient anymore, and that all of a sudden people voted for it. I wonder if, first and foremost, if that's not something, if they really want what is good for the country, they should have, even the bar associations, them, should have done what we could call a straw poll. How many of licensed lawyers in Sierra Leone favor the dissolution of the jury system? You may follow that up with another question and say, if yes, say why. And if no, say why. But somehow a handful of people in government who probably lacked thorough understanding and definitely no understanding of the origin of the jury system and the development of the judicial system just decide for replacement. What other purpose could it be other than for politically motivated for injustice, for replace a system that had been tried for over 200 years or more? So again, it doesn't seem like we're going forward. It seems like we're going backward. I mean, the lack of sincerity. So this bill, what Mr. Mengo they talk about, so now let them tell us why the Central Intelligence Act of 2023 is inadequate. And why do they want to change it? Why do we have the Central Intelligence Act, in fact, of 2023? I'm not saying we shouldn't have it, but in the order of priority, I mean, we don't need it. There are more important things to do with respect to the country, the economy, than anything else. But if we are to have such a thing, tell us why the bill, the act we'll get now, the 2023 Central Intelligence Act, is not adequate for the moment. Why Parliament want change them? And whenever you're watching them make the changes, it don't make any sense. Because the president is getting the topmost protection right now. And vice president themselves will know they get the topmost protection. And I don't think anybody will be against him having that, but that should be an administrative matter. I don't think you need an act for that. If there is evidence that the president or this group of people they name not get satisfactory or sufficient amount of protection, administratively, I can do so. I don't think they need to come up with an act for begin for amend. We're going to give a serious meaning to some of the acts they have over the past. Let them work for a while. And let's see if they serve the purpose of society. If they're not serving the purpose, we're going to get good argument for make. We're going to go back to the parliament. But we only give time from 2023. This is 2026 that's just beginning. We're about to amend 2023. In fact, the process started in 2025. So 2 years later, when I want to amend it for some, whatever reason, we want to not really explain to the people them yet. So back to you, sir.
Well, for me, the interesting thing about it all comes to parliamentary procedures. Now, we law say when government will introduce a bill can be a new law, an amendment to an existing law, which this is. Because when you talk, say they repeal a whole act, you go tell me, correct me, the way they repeal a whole act, it means say, they get rid of what you get now and bring in a new one.
Mm-hmm.
If we say they amend them, that is a different thing.
Yeah, you let some get rid of some.
Exactly. But you say they repeal the existing acts. But then listen to the parliamentary debates. Number one, they talk about that bill that has to be gazetted. That is another issue me and you don't raise, where they talk about gazette. The good thing, I will commend Parliament, because their website don't begin work now. So I go to the parliamentary website. There's nothing of this bill there. It is not there. You cannot find anything there about the bill. But then when I was listening to the debates, remember say they debate something of national intelligence where they affect everybody, and you do it at a time where the other side boycott Parliament. Then the man where been move the bill, where been discuss the bill on the government side, when at the leader of government business, he raised some issues there. One of the issues where he raised, he said, what about them when at the MP? Because as far as Parliament is concerned, at the Speaker no more they make provision for get a special security force there for look after. MP then said, they said, but we said we need that, we need a special force for look after we. But then the other thing is, he was saying that some of the punitive measure for people that will go violate anything for do intelligence, now fine it. And if I include jail sentence. So if you begin to talk about fine, you begin to talk about jail sentence, where something like that, they will go impede on people their own, the citizen their rights. I feel to say, I think this way, they forget national debates. And also, just like how they do the Constitution, if they were really meaningful, they make provision for privilege. Why didn't they take this bill to a privilege? Let people give their opinion about A, why do you need to repeal an existing bill? B, why do you need a special security force to look after the president, the vice president, the speaker, and people are determined as VIP, which is not clarified, and let the citizens debate them. But now, as we go, the bill went through Parliament, it go through the first reading. The chief minister moved, let go second reading. The same day, it went through second reading on that same day. Then they're not sent out to committee stage now. And that's another thing. The first reading of any bill, now an introductory section. I don't see why in we own parliamentary rules, we do first and second reading in the same day. Because first reading and introduction of the bill, whenever you do the second reading, it get to be open to debate and scrutiny. Now from that now, some of the issues the way MPs they raise, now it make you the Senate committee where the committee they do detailed analysis. Compare this bill where they get now to the constitutional amendment bill. The constitutional amendment bill, then do privilege, then see what in people their opinion, then they do first reading, then they went quiet. It has not been sent to second reading. Then they say now, let people put position paper. So you can see the inconsistency of Parliament. Now make sure they bring this to the notice of the people then. I don't know how you go and comment on that.
Well, my comment is consistent in the sense that it looks like Parliament itself doesn't seem to follow procedures, doesn't seem to follow steps, doesn't seem to follow the law within the try for make. And I forgot about making the law. And it's kind of disappointing because either they're not taking their work seriously or they just don't care because they figure they have the power. And I also think, say, in my own little way, Parliament has been getting away with a lot of things because nobody tend to challenge them power. You see, nobody, no matter how procedurally they're wrong, nobody challenges the outcome. You know, for some reason, I think there's this general belief that Parliament is supreme. So whatever they say goes. But I've always raised the idea that no, Parliament in supremacy no more exists. The Constitution is what is supreme. Even though the Constitution, there are a lot of issues as to the manner in which it is written. Some of these areas need modification. And I've pointed out over and over and over certain flaws in the Constitution. One of the main flaws to start with is the section that says the president is a member of Parliament. And I find that to be nonsensical because if we are talking about separation of powers and you get Parliament, the executive, the president, area and the judiciary, I cannot see how the president can be a member of Parliament. And if he's a member of Parliament, which in a function as a parliamentarian, which constituency does he represent? But to me, it's not, it's just inconsistent with what
okay, before you go further, because me and I like make reference. One of the key issues, now look at the Constitution, when at section 94, subsection 2. It's a lot of jargon, but I go read them slowly, and that is where the problem lies. Because section 94.1, it talks about regulation of procedure in Parliament. It says, subject to the provision of the Constitution, Parliament may regulate its own procedures and may in particular make, amend, and revoke standing orders for the orderly conduct of his own proceedings. Right? So the procedure of Parliament, it's in its standing order. So now they go regulate their own self. But now, here is the question. When you come to separation of power, subsection 2, now there are things that the problem lies. It said, notwithstanding anything to the contrary in this constitution or any other law contained in no decision, I repeat, no decision, order, or direction of Parliament or any of its committees or the Speaker relating to the rules and procedure of Parliament or to the application or interpretation of such rule or any act done or purporting to have been done by Parliament or by the Speaker under rules of procedure shall be inquired into by the court. So in other words, what this thing says, the courts not get any jurisdiction over rules and procedures of Parliament, including like that ruling what the Speaker make. So this is the problem, sir. I don't know what you think about that particular section in the Constitution, whether it should stand there
well,
or
this is
something. It's long-winded, but then it makes Parliament become the untouchable.
Well, it does. It does, according to the way it's written. Okay. And then, because in law also, there is a doctrine called public policy, which means, would such a provision in the Constitution be against public policy, where you delegate such a responsibility to Parliament, but then you say, nonetheless, they have absolute right to do as they please. In fact, the inconsistency in the Constitution, I have to be able to really digest that portion the way you read. Which is the section again? Make I think if I can make some.
I will read them slowly.
Say no, the section.
It's
What is it?
It's section 94.2. You get section 94.1, which say, subject to the provision of this Constitution, Parliament may regulate its own procedure and may in particular make, amend, and revoke standing order for the orderly conduct of its own proceedings. So in other words, the Constitution is supreme, but the standing order, now they talk about rules and procedure of Parliament. And they talk now, say, Parliament can regulate their own procedure.
Yeah.
Right? And when they regulate that procedure, nobody can challenge them. But then when you go to subparagraph 2, 94.2, when I didn't have my own concern, although it's long-winded, I will read that slowly back. It said, notwithstanding anything to the contrary in this Constitution or in any other law contained, then a secondary law, no decision, order, or direction of Parliament, of any of its committees, or the Speaker relating to the rules of procedure of Parliament, or to the application or interpretation of such, or any act done or purporting to have been done by Parliament or by the Speaker under any rules of procedure shall be inquired into by any court. So if Parliament know they do the right thing, nobody can take them to court.
And there's no process to challenge them. I want to look more into that. I want to look more into that. Let me just know let me give some deep thought, because that doesn't sound like either, again, what would the talk about Constitution, that may be something they need to revisit. Because otherwise,
I would think so.
Yeah, because otherwise, if that's the case, if they are beyond questioning, irrespective of how violative of the law Parliament itself may be, then what's the point in having a Constitution? Just give Parliament the absolute authority and do away with the Constitution then. You know?
Well, exactly. And this also rightfully linked to something I don't always talk about, the way Parliament can use statutory instruments for pass laws them way affect the public. Because when you put a statutory instrument to Parliament, the onus is on anybody where they oppose that statutory instrument there for raise the motion and get a 2/3 majority for either amend them or rescind it. If that is not acquired, when that standing order is laid in Parliament for 21 days, it becomes law. So that was how the PR system was passed through Parliament. And where it go pass through Parliament, when you take it to court now, the court go say,
They don't
they
get
don't get
jurisdiction.
any jurisdiction. Yeah? They can interpret, question the procedures or regulations of Parliament, which is a dangerous thing. And different government don't use them. Because the Anascoma government used that same law there for bringing Kaine and Falaba. This government used the same law for bringing the midterm census. So until we revisit that, to me, I think that's a fundamental flaw in the Constitution, which is gives the executive or the incumbent the right for abuse power.
And that's the whole essence of a constitution is for create checks and balances of the of government, whether it be Parliament, whether it be the executive. Now that constitution is all about. Like I always tell people, in the constitution, it's not about the regulation of the activities of individuals. Those are done by statute. You know, the constitution itself, not just a framework of how government for be able for, for abuse. The constitution about protection of the rights of individual and limitation on the power of government to encroach on those powers, unreasonably. So now it looks like we don't turn them around, we don't write the constitution in such a way as to say, law or no law, there are certain absolutes in the activities of government, be it the Parliament or the executive, that cannot be questioned, regardless of how unreasonable those activities may be. It's just mind-boggling, But these are debatable issues. It would be nice, for example, people who are listening to us now, when you just raise this section 94.2, subsection 2, for come on board, call we, say, listen, I teach constitutional law, that the law schools or one of the law schools in Australia, at see now, let me tell you why it is right, what is not, what it is wrong, or why I agree with you now. I think meaningful contributions can be made that way. But when we don't get any such calls, then we just project our own ideas, and there are no court decisions where we go look into for help for let we analyze then sections there. It's really troubling. You see, because we get constitutional issues to which there are no interpretations by the courts, because the courts are hardly involved in anything here. And it may very well be because people think the courts don't have the power. I don't know. But even when the Constitution is so badly written, there are smart lawyers who can see some way the law can be interpreted in more ways than one. But it's a little bit troubling.
So let's continue to the next part when a local government. I know that's your favorites.
How about
because
justice?
Again, now after this we'll go to justice.
Okay.
I know I'm tape and local government. I just want to point out an issue which is very, very pertinent, because it all come back to the opposition, their own stance with them take.
Yeah.
When they decide for say them boycott local government, first we've been seeing the party chairman of the SLPP, they appoint somebody, say they know one vacuum. They appoint somebody where they say an acting mayor. But then people then point out, say, the Local Government Act 2004 not make provision for acting mayor. So then back down, because even the local government minister now say, he not be know of that. Then they go on now, we see say then they use the soldier man or policeman them for clean the streets. Where things in an abuse of our men in uniform. Then we now get the Minister of Finance, with the right to the Minister of Local Government. They talk about appointing or exercise emergency powers for financial transactions. A minister cannot exercise emergency powers without, the moment you call it emergency powers, it has to be ratified by Parliament.
Because only the president is accorded that power there. Is that so?
Only the president, and even the president in exercising that power, seeks the permission of Parliament. So if the Minister of Finance talks in now, he want exercise emergency powers, and also for make sure say in change signatories to the council accounts. That is dangerous because that is in complete violation of the Local Government Act 2004. Because the Local Government Act gets things the way it give the Minister of Local Government responsibilities. And that responsibility then an oversight responsibility. And that again is another dangerous thing. So most of them here when they do so, like even this now, it could be challenged in courts because this now a minister exercising powers that he doesn't have.
Correct.
By using the word emergency powers for financial transaction. And he is writing to the Minister of Local Government. And also they inform the APC members. So these are some of the things that when they do. I don't know who done at the legal. Where is our Attorney General? Where is our Solicitor General? Who should be advising these people on how you use phraseology for exercise powers which you don't have? That is an issue of concern. I don't know what you think about it.
Well, I think it should be. This is the problem because it looks like they set the rules and make the rules as they go along. And the problem, the danger about that, like we say, based upon our understanding of the law in Sierra Leone, emergency powers, that phrase there is used only with respect to the president. And even that, it looks like the president is not at liberty to just use them when he feels like it. And the law doesn't say when the president exercises such power, it cannot be challenged. Okay? Because the whole issue about exercising of any power, now compliance, there are rules. And when you skip, if there are 10 requirements, you skip 9, you skip 1, you get 9 right. The exercise of that power there is illegitimate. It's illegal. So you can comply with 9. If you don't comply with all 10, that power, they not get the power of law that it is supposed to have. These are some of the things that we can understand. Now, you get the Minister of Finance is giving instructions and notifications to Minister of Local Governments. They try for and they get they inform the opposition party how they will deal with the seats in the Parliament. With respect to the absence from Parliament. So
this is not Parliament. This is with respect to the running of the council.
The city council. Okay, but
Yeah,
the letter
this is
you
to
and I
deal
were
with local government.
okay, but what about the letter? The letter that you and I were reading that I said something about, was that local government or parliament?
It was local government.
Okay.
So it was a letter from the Minister of Finance to the local government minister for
Oh,
inform.
local government. The APC.
Yeah. For say since they're not there, they want to institute this, exercise this emergency power for financial transactions, which
Which
means
they,
having signatures to the account.
that is just creating problem
Because
for the bank.
exactly. Anyway, because of time, let me go now to the last section where they talk about the administration of justice. Because there are two issues we want to talk about now. One, let's start about, let give the background. We get the Deputy Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Madam Siptiu Sakor, where they talk about the need for urgent reform to address what she described as deep structural failures. So this is a Deputy Minister about deep structural failures in the justice system. This is because then they launch a report where they call Pathway to Prison. A report by the Prison Watch of Sierra Leone and Dignity. And what in that report they about? The title is Justice System Criminalizing Poverty. And what did they talk about? They said the report challenged the conventional narrative around crime, where they shift the focus from incarceration as an endpoint to social and economic conditions. They said for too long, with a focus on the destination, places like Pademba Road, Mafanta, and the label of criminal. But waiting in the talk, they say in many cases, civil matters, they escalate to criminal cases. Young people, when they try for survive, then they take them to police station instead of civil court. And he said there's a bloodline between civil and criminal matters. And this, they cause unnecessary incarceration and they cause overcrowding. So they talk about, then get an ongoing reform under the Criminal Procedures Act and plans to decriminalize minor or outdated offense, including so-called fictitious offenses.
What's the fictitious?
He also talk about, well, they also talk about issues that where young people and they criminalize them, and there's a lack of mentorship and systemic failure on their part. And the interesting thing, Pademba Road was built for 340 inmates. Now they get over 1,800. They may not do another report. So a lot of them cases here, some of them cases here, have thing for do with petty theft, traffic offenses, which means then they overburden the courts, then they put too much burden on the system, and then they criminalize law. Because traffic offenses, them, most of them, not a criminal offense. So I don't know what you think about this reform, where then the plan for, and this report will come out. Over to you, sir.
I am very much in favor of changes. I'm very much in favor. I know don't read these reports fully, so I think they're on the right path. It is common sense that people should not be going to jail for civil matters such as indebtedness. I owe you money, because that happens quite a lot, particularly in the native administration courts. People do suffer incarceration if you get summoned by another person for debts that you are unable to pay. They will lock you up, which encroaches on your freedom of movement. So this organization where they talk so, this is the reason why there are lots of things we need. We need diversity of ideas. In Sierra Leone, if we're really serious, we need diversity of ideas. There are Sierra Leoneans whom I know who have worked in legal systems in other countries. In this country, I know some retired Sierra Leoneans who were prosecutors, some Sierra Leoneans who were defense attorneys, Sierra Leoneans who worked for the Fortune 1,000, that's not Fortune 500 anymore, companies in their legal sections. There is a plethora of legal minds in many fields of Sierra Leoneans abroad. But we don't seem to want to tap on any of that, because I don't see how we can review or even do any improvement in the legal system when we lawyers and we judges them have no interest in coming abroad, having some exchange with other countries in terms of what are the leads to prison, and how not for overburden the system, and how what will be the purpose of a person being sentenced to jail. But we recently done a whereby somebody will chief sandwich and a soft drink, then lock them up for 11 months. So we cannot be serious, and everybody is supposed to be an expert about this thing, and the Commonwealth will not bring attention to that situation there. In fact, about 2 years ago, or shortly before 2 years ago, the Commonwealth even pay money where them assigned that job to Justice Brown Mark for looking to the prison system, because the prison system was full of, or get a large population of people who had no business being in prison all over the country. I don't think that helped any. They're still locking up people. So we know we know the story about this lady. We then lock up for 11 months, who, by all indication, they say had a 2-year-old child when this happened to her. So the system for provide protection, not to allow anyone who will lose their right, their freedom, being locked up, not for be taken before a magistrate with a lawyer, not without one. Whether the person could avoid, the magistrate should be able to determine, first of all, can the person afford legal representation? If you want to take people in constitutional rights away from them, then what you should do, make a provision in the law where that person can knowingly waive in rights to constitutional protection. But you take someone who on a claim say broke and entered into a building and all the person stole, and it looked like the breaking and entering aspect of that allegation there was a technical one, not actual breaking as such. And it sounds to me also like a retaliatory kind of action. Somebody would try for proof to that woman, they say, I go make you not do this again. So they use the law in such a way, deprive of that woman there of the right, 22 for 11 months, locked up, not even tried on the facts, leaving her 2-year-old child languishing. And another issue they never addressed was that while she was in detention, she claimed she was abused, and assumed she's talking about sexual abuse. That didn't get anywhere. You see? Then we get another incident of the two magistrates then, who get involved in locking up a woman with the sell kukri, because one magistrate go buy kukri, somehow expect. Yeah, go buy fry. Okay, let's say fry. The magistrate go buy fry. He not like how the woman to talk to him. The woman will get an operation. He expect the woman to know who he was, but this woman not and they treat all in customers them, I guess, equal. They look at them the same in customer and in customer them. But one thing led to another. The magistrate had this woman arrested because they say the woman was disrespectful. And then get another magistrate for detain this woman, deny her bail, and she was locked up for a few days. You see, all that here, I mean, it's just terrible. Not only is it terrible, it should never happen. There should be some types of mechanism in place for prevent this kind of things not happening. Now, I give the Chief Justice a lot of credit because I think the Chief Justice, with respect to the woman who was locked up for the fry, I think he was involved. He stepped in right away. And, so, you know, the very good news about the legal system. The legal system, they get any mischiefs within the play with respect to them people who wouldn't get the power. And again, what would they talk about? Criminalization of the poor. Well, now poverty, because the woman who decide so, now poor people, particularly the lady will go do 11 months of detention and maybe sexual abuse, all because she is poor. So what should the system do? Provide legal representation, particularly now when they get 2-3 law schools then they produce over 500 or 700, almost 1,000 lawyers a year. They should be able to provide legal representation to these people, people who are being accused of a violation, for eliminate traffic offenses with a few exceptions to be criminalized. The government will be better off finding people, you know, and making people, and then using the point system, raising people insurance high, many other ways, but depriving them of their freedom is going too far. There are a few exceptions, like to Winaya, if you engage in driving while intoxicated or under the influence, or while impaired, you get all them things, they are the same. Then in the process, you end up killing someone recklessly. You may be detained and may be charged with murder, or some people then get creative now, they even get what you call death by motor vehicle, because you lack the criminal intent to kill that individual there. But your condition was so reckless as to be raised to the level of criminality, so they get a separate statute under which they will charge you with death by motor vehicle, where they're not going to put you in a jail or not go, but still you get to go to trial because there may be mitigating circumstances where lead you to that. Or maybe you may have been taking prescribed medication where affect your sensibilities or your ability for control yourself. Because sometimes you can take medications where indeed can impair your judgment. So all that the court get for find out, right, driving under the influence doesn't necessarily mean you have been drinking or using illegal drugs. You could have a reaction to drugs, legitimate drugs also. You could be a diabetic person and your sugar just spike and affect your judgment. So all of this, they want to make laws. That's why they need for debate, and not just people that will not get no understanding, no contact with any other system other than what you will know in Sierra Leone. Bring in people who have been involved with systems concerning then safeguards here for be able to pass law. But a lot of them, what we see, the reason why we keep repeating a mistake there, because and I challenge, I've raised that challenge again, and I will say it again because I'm pretty confident of that. Most of we lawyers them, most, not many, most, who are licensed lawyers in Sierra Leone, when they come abroad, which include England, Australia, Canada, United States, when these Sierra Leonean lawyers then come, they have almost zero interest in the legal system. Zero. When they come visit this country, the last place they want for going at the court system. The last place they want for go na the legal libraries. The last place they want for go na lawyers' offices. They not get no interest at all. So I do not understand how anybody could be so resentful or so scornful of a system to which you are part of the profession. Come see other system, then try for see how they run, and so when you go back, you go try for make improvements. But you can't go read a little bit of a law or article in a paper and then you talk about prisoners' rights, or you become an expert. Even when you construct a courtroom, I mean, if you born Australian, go to law school in Australian, start practicing Australian, and when you come abroad, you stay away from the court system. How do you know whether the current situation in Sierra Leone, the designing, the structure of the courthouse and the courtroom is consistent with what we call justice? Because justice entails a lot of aspects of a body to amount to what we call justice. Because there are certain things I still keep raising that if I were a practicing lawyer in Australia, just for the novelty of it, I'll bring it up in court. Number one, do people have a fair trial and be able to assist in their own defense if you are a defendant? If you are a defendant, and of course, we use the word defendant mostly, they use the word accused. But if you are the accused, and I'm sitting several feet away from me lawyer, how am I able to contribute to my own defense when we're not there side by side? He can't whisper anything to me. I cannot whisper anything to him. When I am as the defendant or the accused, I'm being referred to as the prisoner in the dock. Doesn't the system call for modernization? But you can't think of all their modernization. And if you not see any other system, we're nice, we're better, what you want your system to be. So these are some of the things. So we just get so much problem. Then when you all of a sudden when you come, then say, oh, we talk about prisoners' rights. We talk about crime against poverty or this and that. So you don't wonder, well, which direction to go? Yeah, it's the poor people who are feeling the brunt of this adverse oppressive system. But how do you protect against that? How do you keep the poor people in rights intact? It's hard to do when the one who work for DOAM, they don't care about learning about other systems where they go compare for use their own. We don't want to do comparative analysis and say, well, you take a place like Israel, then get very good prison system. So why can't people then go there and study? There's some other countries like Australia, Scandinavian countries, they get wonderful system, prison system. The Americans then get a system much better than we own, but it's not the best in the world. Then get some terrible system, even in America, in terms of how prisoners are treated. But it's a far, far, far cry from we. We own, nothing exists. How much education does a prisoner get when he go into prison for changing and for being a productive person, if and when he comes out? We don't care about that. We just lock them up. But there are so many things. I'm just bringing all of these things up. So I don't get too impressed when I can just see all them big headlines here, because we need to see that being followed by some serious activity. So
okay, one last thing, sir. We know say even the deputy minister talk about something, because government, they can say they get ongoing reform. We get this Criminal Procedure Act 2023. And one of the issues I think so for end up with, because me, I can always get the law with me. and they say they try for reform. Now, issue for deal with bail.
Yeah.
And for make reference. Under Section 76, because bail, normally, what's in the Criminal Procedure Act being, it said bail is a right unless the prosecutor provides sufficient reasons to deny it, especially cases in the magistrate court. Under Section 76, subparagraph 2, it says a person may be admitted to bail at any time and thereupon shall be discharged from custody or correctional center if he is not detained for any other cause. So in other words, the law gives the rights to bail in them cases then they. But of them cases and they wait in the pre-correctional service because they're not able to get bail. Because it also go further for talk about shorties them. A defendant who is admitted to bail shall procure such shorty or shorties as in the opinion of the court will be sufficient to ensure his appearance as and when required and shall with him or any of them enter into recognizance accordingly. So in other words, why you the old people they are necessary? If you get a shorty or somebody where they guarantee say, whenever the court want this person, we will bring and come. Why are so many people denied bail in the courts, the magistrate courts? Because they only say where they get certain cases themselves. Now only a high court judge gets that power for grant bail for certain offenses them, which contain a high treason or murder case. But most offenses them are bailable offenses. And if government say they want to reduce the number of people in incarceration, because on reports what they've been doing recently, a significant percentage of the people that within this they will prison them. Now because they've been denied bail. Some of their offenses then they now offense themselves where they could give them like who gets you give them community service. And secondly, for finish, do we have a probation service in Salon?
No, I don't think so.
From the other thing one notice, given my experience working in Africa, the French countries then get a system for train government administrators together with magistrates. Because the administrators them, now they will say the one they will for do it, issues them where we ombudsman and they deal with. So they call them normally like in Cameroon, they call normal a magistrature. So you go for trained magistrates. Who trains our magistrates? Because people they finish, magistrate come, you don't be a lawyer, they make you magistrate. That magistrate they become a demigod for deny people and bail. So these are some of the things that we need to consider in our system. How you train the magistrates, how you apply bail conditions, and not for just keep people them unnecessarily. Now then I will end up and I'll give you comment because then they come to the end of the program.
Yeah. Again, with respect to this bill, is the most abused practice in the judicial system, the denial of bail. What blows me away, and we're not going to ever improve the system unless we curb this police power. The police power in the sense that the police on their own can just decide that you as a citizen or as an individual within the jurisdiction of Sierra Leone have said something we're not pleasing to them about an authority, particularly if it has to do with the president or in family. And that the police on their own, without the instigation or the behest of the president or the top authority, vice president or anybody, can just bring you down to the station and detain you for questioning Bear in mind that that questioning day centers on your right to free speech. And it seems like the police is saying, to hell with that. Free speech no matter to we. We are the police. We can call you in anytime. Because I do recall a similar thing involving a prominent businessman who was sitting in his office, a young guy who had been abroad and come back home. They try for help people. Somehow, some officials then figure say, well, how is he getting all this money? They just go ahead and tell and say, hey, stop what you do, once see you in a police station. No crime, no accusation, no complaints against them. So with democracy, it's not ever going to work until we curb the police power. And this started going from way back to the Albert Magai time. It continues to the Stephen era. And to this day, it continues almost in fact, I think Tijan Kaba may have abused that, if at all, very little. Okay? I'm almost willing to give him an exception. But it looks like everybody seemed like it's a good aspect of the system, so nobody should get rid of it. But I am appealing to President Bio again, the courage or the reason for which he chose to abolish the death penalty, to which I'm 100% in favor. I heard in young anti-corruption commissioner, they talk about that should be brought back. Okay, well, we can get an intellectual. I hope if they listen to this program, he's invited. He has an open invitation for can tell me why the president was so wrong in pushing for that to be abolished. But the courage with which President Bio decided to abolish the death penalty, I wish he can exercise that same courage there for straightening out some of the unfairness, particularly this unreasonable exercise of police power, depriving people of their constitutional rights. And then challenges them there. The current example is this woman by the name of Zainab Sharif. I don't know what she said, but it said she made incendiary remarks that borders on threatening the life of the first lady or somebody, I don't know. But that's what the courts are for. She takes the position that in a political statement you make. Or the APC lawyer, Mr. Dubois, who was arrested, now finds himself in criminal high courts, defending himself for free speech we make under in rights to express, and simply because he called the president name. But for the good of everybody, we have to look into that, and we have to start raising issues. Don't wait until it gets to you, because that exercise is just wrong. That exercise of police power is just wrong. It's too much. And I don't know how the police get that power there, because the law not getting that power there. And I think the procedure needs to be changed. The police should be prohibited from just arbitrarily calling you and say they want to talk to you. They should have probable cause, based on some reasonable and articulable.
Are we having a call? Because we're not get call at the phone.
Yeah, that was my phone. I'm sorry. Yeah. So okay. So we should the police should have reasonable and articulable suspicion that a crime has been committed, and then they shouldn't be inviting you the CID under the guise of an invitation, but with the sole intention of detaining you. There is deception in that process there. So I think if we care about our country, if we are serious about straightening out the justice system, we have to talk about injustice, because there is too much of it going, and it's affecting people at the top, people in the middle, and the very poor. And you never know when you can get caught up in that situation, because the police just get the right to deprive you of your liberty, of your freedom, Anytime. Where one top officer just decide to call you, that's it. Now, when they say the denial of Miss Sheriff about 6, 7 times, you ask, well, why does the magistrate keep denying her? Because there are several factors upon which you can exercise some reasonable judgment as to deprive someone of a bail. You know, number one, is this person a danger to society? So is Zainab Sharif a danger to society? Number two, now I think they say one of the reasons why the government talk about the risk of flight. So the risk of flight, now the probability, because don't forget that bail, Mr. Mengot mentioned surety just now. If someone is willing to bail this lady, why shouldn't the judge give bail to her? Let someone put in money on her behalf, because that's what the surety comes up and say, yeah, I'm willing to put $1 million, $500,000, as long as it's reasonable, that with the promise that she will appear when in court date come. Why would not they do that one day? Why they deny the person that opportunity there for let somebody stand for them? You know, you get rid of the surety system completely. And you just say, well, I, as the magistrate, for whatever reason, I get a suspicion, not based on fact, that this person is unlikely to appear in court when it's time for her to appear. You know, and then you get for way and all the other factors. Who is this person? How likely is this person to flee? You know, and is this person so well known that if she flees, well, then you can, in fact, when you grant bail, you can give conditions to this person. If that's the case, instead of taking her freedom, you can say, all right, you are required to report to such and such or to the CID every Friday between the hours of this and that. Any Friday where you fail for appear will be an indication that you're about to elude authorities. You can set conditions on the bail. You are required not to travel beyond 50 miles from the vicinity of your home or your residence. I mean, because that's what justice is all about. Go out of your way for accord the person fairness. But to go out of your way for accord the person on fairness because you're trying to prove to authorities who already have the power that you're looking out for them. And anybody will talk bad but you, I will lock them up. If you give me the power for lock the person there, I will lock them up till you say big for them. We are hurting ourselves. We're hurting the system. You know, we're hurting the system. So these are some of the things. So, and such refusal, the lawyers then should be able to challenge the unreasonableness of it in court. Don't let these things just die like that. The media should raise the issue because it's for everybody's protection. So if she's gone to court 6, 7 times and they consistently keep denying her and she has no record of ever fleeing or no record of ever failing to appear in court, and she has no record of conviction, she has so many mitigating factors that should assure the magistrate to release her. No. Now, if the government is opposed, the government should come up with aggravating factor, such as a lengthy criminal record, a propensity to engage in violence, and on and on and on. Say these are aggravating factor, why not for release her? But you just say, oh, we're not going to grant a bail because of fear of flight. Based on what factual evidence? None. These are all dangerous things for people. And lawyers should not be so comfortable back home, particularly those who go to court to represent people, that they never be just that comfortable. They should be raising this issue, and I've always advocated, let the lawyers then bombard the High Court and the Supreme Court with their cases here. Because they are just lax. A case goes before them. They can take 3 years to preside. It shouldn't be that way there. But again, if we are working with the system, if we are trying to improve the system, but every succeeding government comes, the meaningful areas of the law, they're not the changer. So you can see the lack of good faith in them trying to improve the system. Everybody wants to come to power for take undue advantage for exploit the system. It's like a dragnet. The fisherman go out to sea, is spread in net. They want for catch me now. But at the end of the day, so they catch baby shark, this, that. That's all they do. We just throw in the net, regardless of who they affect. So my thing is, for the little that I know, for the years I've been abroad, and for the years I practice criminal law, and for the kind of safeguards that are in the legal system, there is no reason why we shouldn't have similar safeguards. There is no reason why we lawyers and not for come abroad for begin look at superior system of administration as well as physical facilities, of a system, and then get away from this old antiquated courtroom decorum and decoration in terms of courtroom setting. A dock should not exist anymore in a constitutional system. We don't forget a dock. A defendant should be able to sit right next to a lawyer and contribute to your own defense. Okay, well, we don't run out of time. We are about 15 minutes over. So that's all I have to say. If anything for say, if you listen to this broadcasting later on, and if you want for ask some questions, then please call us next week. I have one
There's
comment.
There's one last comment before I give me your final word.
Okay, sir. The judiciary have been politicized, and there is total discount from the people and governance. Salon people gradually losing interest in politics. So much impunity and abuse in the Salon government system, which is true, but you can't just lose interest because it affects the people. You see, it affects people. So we will just get the little opportunity for learn a little bit of other system, and there are always a lot we can learn. You see, so we really need for do the best we can for improve the system. But I don't see any evidence of the system being improved. And we really get for try. And I feel sorry for people who would go jail. Or like Ms. Zainab Sharif, even though she's a prominent person, you can tell there's some invisible hands beyond the courts keeping her in jail. And is this a system we all want? Really? Is that how we want? For no government will get the courage for say, no, you got to stop it. Let the Constitution, let we put more meaning into the Constitution. Let we interpret what the Constitution say. Back to you, Mr. Mengot.
Well, all I got for say, once you are Maui elect for go down to history, all the lawyers who get where they affect the people them, they were passed in 1965 during Albert Bagai regime. Because the laws they will get three, I will get for put them together now. We've been get the Public Order Act in 1965. When a part of it they not repeal, but then bring out our way dangerous. When a this cyber crime, but we not for other day.
Yeah, the cyber.
Then you get the Police Act 1965 again. When they say then they review, but 30 they will not see the new one where they don't draft. But now look at this one, this Criminal Procedure Act 2024. Now I'm left in it, where they say it's work in progress. And I go read the citation. It say the Criminal Procedure Act 2024 being an act to repeal and replace the Criminal Procedure Act 1965. So now 65 Act 2. To provide for new procedures relating to summary trials, committal proceedings, trials on indictment, alternative sentences, and to provide for other related matters. So if then tear when they put saying at the act, if they can go about it, so some of them tear will they talk, if indicate we say we they look for progress. So family now there I go stop. We're glad if when I don't listen to we. Of course, I get my colleague when I the legal man. We can give in legal opinion based on facts, experience, and learning. I'll give my opinion based on parliamentary rules and procedures and governance, based on experience, learning, and mixing with the people that way that they give with the law. So till we meet again, I will say tata and have a beautiful week. Today we the Christians, Christ has risen. Tomorrow on a public holiday in a salon, wishing a good public holiday. And we on days, Friday will be not beat Judas. Because if we want beat Judas in a salon, boku Judas then day. But tomorrow on Easter day, na they will fly kites. And Lord fly the kite higher. Because we get Agnos, we get Bati, we get fishtail. So Lord begin fly high kites for improved system for we people them. For Lord get better life for everybody. So with that, I say thank you until we meet again next Sunday. Nami they say tata from sorry.